Paul, last time as a group playing the Islanders, there was a lot of catch-up in that game. It was, late October. What do you think the biggest difference in terms of growth you guys have seen in your game over the course of that time?
I think early in the season we're obviously a new team, new coach, a lot of new guys, so it's going to take a little bit of an adjustment period for us to kind of get moving as a team and figure out the new structure and everything along the lines of that. But I think as the season's gone on, we've done a good job of, guys have meshed with other lines and we figured out our structure and it's easy to read off each other. So I think it's going to be a completely different team for us coming in tonight.
One of the things that we were just talking to Brenden Dillon about is this team in particular last year, right, had the skill, that type of thing. But people like you and Brenden have really brought that physical element in all three zones. Where do you sort of see that as a huge building block for this team as a whole?
It's really big. I mean, it's obviously a lot more fun to play with Dilly than against him, those battles. But, that's the type of stuff. You don't want to play against a guy like that. He's hard-nosed. He's always going to bring it, and, he's always going to be there. So having those types of players on the offensive side and on the defensive side, those D know that every time they go back for a puck, one of us is coming in to crush them. So it's not an easy feeling, and that's kind of the name of the game, is to try to make them feel as uncomfortable as can be, to cause turnovers, and then we can kind of have our skill take over because we have both as a team.
What do you like about playing that role? Because you're a guy who can play multiple different roles.
Yeah, I think physicality is the thing that needs to be consistent.
Right.
It doesn't really take much to finish a hit. So I always like to think I just kind of run in there and finish my hit, and pucks kind of create chaos, and from there we can kind of use our skill to create those little mini plays that some other teams aren't able to do.
It seems like the team toughness this year has been, obviously upped. There's a lot of between the whistles activity going on. Is that something you guys have noticed and talked about?
Yeah.
What's going on?
No, yeah, there is, and I think it's just other teams are bringing it. I don't think that we're necessarily the ones to start it. But if you mess with one of our guys, there's a lot of guys, we're a tight team in here. So, maybe a guy that isn't the biggest or strongest, if he gets a little whack, or especially if our captain gets something, we're all bringing it. Draisaitl slashed Nico last game, and I think our whole bench was barking at him the entire time, finishing hits. I'm sure he didn't love that. And it makes it harder on him to play, right? So I think that creates us to be like, all right, well, now we're bringing it too. So, I don't think we really start it, but we'll finish it.
Dilly, it's been, you guys played this team late October. How do you feel that you guys have sort of built up your game since then? That was a game where there was a lot of catch-up in it. How do you feel things are different for you guys?
I think for both teams, now you're talking 15, 20 games into a season, getting more towards what your team identity wants to be. I know they're a little bit banged up, but they've been playing well as of late. They beat a good Ottawa team a couple days ago. For us specifically, we're always trying to get better every game. We've been finding ways to win the last few. I don't think we've played our perfect game yet, or I think Vancouver the other night when we're on the road trip was probably as close to a good 60-minute effort as we've had all season, and we want to try and get to that, for as most consistently of these next 65 games we've got as we can. And different lines chipping in. Obviously, Jack's line had a huge game last game. Our special teams have been pretty solid, but mainly for this team and their identity, they've got big physical forwards. They've got skating D, so we just got to know who we're on the ice against.
How big has that been, sort of the element of the physicality that you guys have all brought to this game? I think of yourself, obviously, someone like Paul Cotter in all three zones. How has that really sort of changed things for this team?
Well, we know what this team's identity has been the last few years. It's been the skill and the speed and the offensive talent they've got. So for the guys that are coming in, and obviously all of us are different pieces to the puzzle and have different strengths and weaknesses. And I think for Paul and myself, when we're on top of our game, for me specifically, my gaps are tight. I'm able to be finishing checks and stopping plays, ending plays to be able to get the puck going on offense. So all in all, we're just trying to do our part to be pieces to the New Jersey successful puzzle, and we're pretty happy with how things have been going to start the year.
How does this group kind of feel right now? Obviously the schedule has been pretty wild, but does it feel like sort of you played catch up a little bit? How does everyone sort of feel in that regard?
It's been a lot. I think coming out here to the East and hearing how the travel's so much better, and there's not that many games here in your bed all the time. I haven't seen that yet, so I'm still waiting for that period of the schedule to kick in. But It's been a lot, but that's the NHL, right? We've got the Four Nations thing coming up in February, and there's just different, we've got like 4 days in between games coming up here in the end of November, middle of November. So the schedule is what it is. Everyone's playing lots of games in a short period of time. That's part of being a pro, taking care of yourself away from the rink, making sure you're just, on top of your game as well as you can here with this amount of games in a short period of time.
Brenden, just wondering your thoughts on your team's toughness this year. Obviously, another heavy team here tonight, but this team has defended themselves well, a lot this year.
Yeah. Well, the Islanders, that's a staple to them, right? Even their top end forwards, the Anders Lees, the Brock Nelsons, this year with Siplikov, like they're all big physical guys, and they can all protect the puck well. And it's not necessarily about fighting, but it's holding on to pucks. It's being physical in the corners. It's knowing that every time you're going to the front of the net, it's going to be a battle. And for us and for our back end, for me and my game, you've got to be hard to play against. You've got to have those tight gaps, finish plays to be able to stop pucks because, when they get rolling around and they get possession of the puck in the ozone, they're tough to stop.
Sheldon, you've had quite a few games now since you last played this team. That was a game with a lot of catch-up and obviously going to overtime. How do you feel your team has sort of improved since then, and what are the particular areas from that game that you think are most improved?
I think just each area of our game has gotten incrementally better in all zones, with and without the puck. We've had a little more practice time here of late. It's interesting how it worked out. I mean, we sort of had more practice time on our Western Canadian road trip than we had in the month of October. So we've been able to clean up some things, and I think both on the defensive side of the puck, in the neutral zone and in our defensive zone, we've gotten better. There's some things offensively we'd like to continue to get better at and get into the neutral zone ourselves. But all in all, I think we've made incremental steps, and while we've been really trying to refine our game, our special teams have been really strong, and that's helped us stay competitive.
When you talk about having that extra practice time in that Western Cat, what do you learn differently as a coach through practice time versus game time, morning skate, about your team as you're trying to get to know them?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's as much. I think in the games you're learning.
Yeah.
You're learning really what matters about the players. The practices is when you can help the group,
Right.
and fine tune some things, especially coming in as the new coach, and you're sort of plugging holes here and there, and you get one thing rolling, and then something else pops up. That's kind of the nature of the league and of coaching in general. You're never quite happy with everything. There's always something that comes up, but in general, I think our guys have a good understanding of what we're trying to accomplish, and that's really helped our group.
As a forward, how valuable has Paul Cotter's physicality been in all three zones been for this team, whether it's sending messages or turning pucks over, that kind of thing?
He's been really important. He's a unique. I would say he and Meyer both are unique players. In the league, but also certainly amongst our team. But their physicality, the heaviness, if you will, that they have on the puck, and then the speed and skill they have with it too. So not only are they good at physical, at finishing checks and finishing plays to get the puck back, but they're also very good at transporting the puck.
Right.
And when they have it, it's hard to get it from them, and then they can get us through the neutral zone. So they're very valuable guys to help drive their lines.
Just jumping on the physicality and toughness of the team, it's a lot more present this year. Is that a top-down thing, a message from you, or is that something that the team has come up with themselves, saying, we have to band together here?
Yeah, well, I think I said the other night. I mean, first it comes from Fitz, right, and some of the changes that he made, the people that he brought in. I think all have an element of that, whether if it's outward toughness or just size and physicality that way. That started there, but certainly from my perspective, a lot of our structure and system without the puck requires physicality, closing fast, finishing plays, whether that's a forecheck, whether it's a track through the neutral zone, or in the defensive zone. I had in Toronto last year was very, very similar. We added some guys that allowed us to do that a little bit differently, but I think we're right near the top of the league in the physicality piece, and we are here again in Jersey. So we've carried that message through, and we have some players to do it. But even those who maybe weren't doing it as much or didn't feel like it was as important to their game, they've bought into it as well in their own way. And sometimes it rattles the glass and you really notice it. Sometimes it's just getting in somebody's way and slowing them down. So every single one of our players has a responsibility to commit to physicality, even though it might look a little different for each guy.
Between the whistles, it seems like there's been a lot of activity. Is that something when you're on the bench you're looking at and you're saying, all right, reel it back a little bit, don't take a penalty, or do you appreciate, that kind of?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, you have to be smart. At the end of the day, you want to be playing with 5 players more than the opposition is. So it's got to stay out of the penalty box. But certainly the group has to stay together, and that's been a message to our group from the beginning. Is that we want to stay together and make sure guys are feeling supported, and just that the group is together and committed to one another.
Tonight, first opportunity to win 3 games in a row. Is that a conversation you guys have had?
No, hadn't thought about it in that regard, but it'd be nice to go on a run here for sure, and kind of keep forward momentum. That is important. If you want to be a playoff team, you got to be able to put together some runs. So hadn't thought about it in that context, but yeah, certainly want to keep it going.